the walls have no cracks in it. It's 35 years old or something like that. It has some rust stains from water that came in behind it, but there's no cracks at all.
I'll disagree with you on that. I'll disagree with you on that. There's cracks. There's cracks. There's cracks.
Rust stains and stuff.
Well, we can call them rust stains or cracks, but go on with the report. We've got a long agenda here tonight, and I don't mean to be short, but I have heard your dissertation at the Red Commission meeting a number of times, so maybe we can do a fast play on this one.
Okay,
and we can move on with
the
the
pool
agenda.
slab was designed for downward loading, no upward loading, okay? And therefore, at the time, evidently, there must have not been high water tables. Like now, we have low water tables because of the rising. And when the water lifted up the slabs, it caused cracks because the top of the concrete or plaster had no reinforcing in it, so it cracked. And that's why you've got multiple cracks. And over the years, instead of cutting these cracks open and caulking them, they just plastered over them. Then the following year, it cracked again. So it's a succession of cracks and cracks. Well, to decide what's needed now, really you have to investigate the city, and the consulting engineer didn't do this. You have to see the voids that's underneath the slab. You have to see the bearing capacity of the ground underneath the slab. You have to see the groundwater table. And this is what I propose to do, and then you can evaluate and do different types of slab treatments. Now the upper slab can be plaster, patching of the gunite and then plastering over. The bottom slab, which is under much more stress, would require either a ferro cement or a doubly reinforced concrete slab with various additives. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Question?
Yes.
Do you believe that this can be done for significantly less than $1.5 million?
Oh, no, less than $500,000, you could rebuild that whole pool way under $500,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I appreciate your input, Mr. Weiss, but we have had more than one engineer review the pool and lots of input about how much damage there is. And, you know, no one felt that it was a pool that could be repaired. And every engineer that we spoke to felt that the pool needed to be replaced, that it was a major overhaul, not a, you know, fix this and fix that, and then you have the pool working again. So, you know, I understand that you know, that's your opinion, your professional opinion, but I have to, you know, say that we also had other professionals look at it, and the committee that, you know, the pool committee reviewed all those discussions and reviews, and many people walked through there that had engineering degrees, and all felt that the pool was in very bad shape and needed a lot more work than what you're asking. So I have to put that on the record too, if you're going to make that statement.
Well, also, we've taken core samples out there. You can visually see it's more than cracks. The wall has actually moved on the east end. It is moved. I mean, to put it in the simplest way, it's like a car. The pool is 60 years old. You don't run your car into the ground and spend all kinds of money. You get rid of it and buy a new one. And that's the simplest analogy I can put. I mean, I've been in and out that pool. I've looked at the core samples. And without removing that pool to see what's underground from 60, 65 years ago, we're just throwing taxpayers' money again against an old pool. So that's the logic there.
Okay, we're going to move on. Were there any other community events that anyone wanted to mention?
We have on here for community events
candidates, but it doesn't have the spaghetti dinner. It just has the dates that they're gonna be doing the bike run.
Yeah, on May 9th, right? No,
No,
it's right, no, it's on here, May
Friday, May
10th.
10th, yeah, Wildcat Weekend Bike Race. I'll report on the spaghetti dinner specifically.
When you talk,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Sorry.
He apologizes.
Sorry, Joe.
Looking for my minutes. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
What are you doing over there?
Roll vote, Councilman Gallagher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hassett,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes. Okay, Ken, would you like to start on the committee reports?
Sure. The Rec Commission. Okay. This weekend, as noted on the agenda, a Wildcat Bike Race weekend. It's going to be quite an interesting event here in Rosendale. But I wanted to bring up specifically that on Friday night, they're going to have a spaghetti dinner here. It's sort of a carb up event for the bikers, and it's also going to be a fundraiser for the pool. So anybody who comes down is going to get a real nice dinner. I think it's going to be very affordable. I don't know the price, unfortunately, but whatever they make or whatever profit comes, they're going to donate to the pool. Back to the Rec Commission, as Billy reported earlier, that the Rec Commission and the Farmers Market have concluded an agreement for the upcoming year, and you guys are going to be going outside starting June 2nd. And I also wanted to mention, because I think it's beneficial to both the food pantry and to the Farmers Market, that the Farmers Market has the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program that they're going to be able to take at the Farmers Market. So that's going to be real good for, people, local people who are on that program, as well as the food pantry. So we're going to publicize that down there. That wraps it for the rec. The ZBA, nothing to report on really. The next meeting is on May the 21st, which is a week from Tuesday. And the High Pools Water District, it did meet, but the minutes are yet to follow, so I'll report on that next month. That's it.
Okay, the Youth Commission. We are with the St. Pauli Clothing Locker, we're at $1,256.28. Our first check this month was $75. We got another check for $26. That's really doing a world of good, and there's a lot of money coming in, obviously, to the Youth Commission. And just in case anybody noted or noticed, and it was an unforeseeable mistake, there was a clothing locker. There's a clothing locker, US, again, across the street at Depew's residence. It was brought to my attention. I went over there and I spoke to Debbie Bin, and she said it was an honest mistake. I didn't even think of your St. Pauli's clothing locker, because it's down the road and it's not right there. And so she said to give her just a little time, and she would have the clothing locker removed and taken away. So, coinciding once again with that, we don't see everything. When somebody sees something that's at a sink, don't wait till a meeting and that to bring it to our attention. Once again, our contact numbers, our email addresses, and I'll take a call anytime, day or night. So anyway, in case anybody saw that, it is going to be removed. She was extremely apologetic, and that's that with that. Security cameras are due to be installed this week by Crosspoint for the youth, so that'll be a little bit safer back there and keep an eye on better what's going on back there. Car show. Car show is doing excellent. Last year, they raised $1,825. This year, already at this point, we're at $2,200. We have a lot of involvement. Kathy Wade will be interviewed on WKNY at 8 a.m. by Walter Maxwell. And the next meeting is May 8th, that's scheduled, which we, and that's, there was 395 visits, and also was asked by me to please circulate also the T-ball registration. A few weeks ago it was at 23 children, and all of a sudden, boom, it's at 43. Once again, everyone knows the town board's number. Don't always rely on the website. There's plenty of contact numbers of us. There's a county book with our names and numbers in there. It's not going to be our fault if people don't take a little bit of initiative to check up, because what happens now was at 23, now they're at 44 children, and by parents not meeting the deadline, now it puts Kathy in a bind to reorder T-shirts for the kids so they can show that they're a team member, and it also ups the price when you have to do a last-minute rush order. So once again, I emphasize things like this, registrations and stuff like that, please do it before the deadline date. Okay, and that pretty much rounds up the Youth Commission. Water and sewer, basically the only additional thing going on there is we're working out a plan to give service to 5 additional houses on Ann Street, but we haven't obtained the legal staff in place yet, so that's in the works. And, yes, sir.
Water and sewer, or just one?
Sewer.
I'm sorry, just sewer.
Okay.
My bad.
They might already have water?
What's that?
Do they already have water?
I don't believe they have town water.
No, they don't have town water. And I think that pretty much sums it up. Yes, you will.
The Environmental Commission had their Energy Expo on April 13th. It was very successful. In the past, they had combined both the Earth Fest and the Energy Expo together. I think this, putting the spotlight on the energy really helped to make this a very successful event. There were quite a few, I don't know if the number of vendors, but there were quite a few vendors. We had presenters, and I believe all around they had good attendance. And on June 9th, they will have the Earth Fest, so if anybody that has enjoyed the Earth Fest in the past, they want to attend, that will still be happening. And they're busily working on some of the plans for auditing the lighting district, as we had assigned them earlier in the year, so they're doing some work on that.
All right, the transfer station, we took in 30.42 tons of trash. We had $200 worth of cost of solid waste, $80 in cost of recycling, and glorified fuel charges, or RA, of $205.33, which gave us an expense of $32.2313. We took in $59.17 for a grand total of revenue generated $2,693.87. Highway Department is basically doing storm drains, ditches, storm water control. It's that time of year. So, that's it.
That's Renee.
Renee is doing good. Ornery as ever.
Okay. Planning board, I have to apologize, I left my other folder home. Billy, do you want to bring anything to the town board? I don't recall.
We approved Hudson for her landscaping supply depot on Main Street at the former Grange. We have, I think, 3 lot line adjustments coming up for our meeting tomorrow night.
We can't hear right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said they closed your house down and it's not going to be inhabitable anymore.
Kenny, did you hear Billy?
Who's Billy talking?
They approved the landscaping on the depot on Main Street.
Right.
And they have 3 lot line adjustments coming at the next meeting.
That's correct. I agree with that. The chamber On the
Tomorrow.
20 Is it really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the 22nd. Anybody,
Correct.
is it really tomorrow?
Oh, I was told tomorrow.
They told you to get there early.
I think it's
The 22nd.
And I just wanted to ask about the zoning review. Is Mary Lou working on it?
Which zoning review?
All of that information that,
No, she's not working on that. Earlier in the year, I said that we don't have the finances right now to do all the zoning review committee's work you're talking about? No,
Yeah.
we haven't forwarded anything. I know they recently gave me some stuff to review, which I think was their last submission, but I have to hand it out to everybody to look at, which it came on disc, which means I have to print it up. I don't have, so I'm not sure how many pages that is, so.
I just, many years of work went into that, and it would be really, and we do need to bring our code into alignment. That was the whole purpose. And
I
it
understand.
was a all of the town commissions and boards participated to the degree they wanted to. And, okay, that was my only other question. I want to just point out that the Rosendale Women's Club is having a clean sweep, unless somebody already pointed that out, but the Women's Club is doing really good work here at the rec center on May 11. And I think that's about it.
Bob, you want to mention about Halloween?
Oh, yeah, we have June 1st, the High Falls Firehouse Spaghetti Dinner. It's actually my daughter's honors program. She did it last year for a fundraiser for the Little League. She raised $1,800 last year. She's trying to beat that this year. And that's all going towards the construction of the new fields. So that's June 1st, 5 to 8.
And,
That actually reminds me, are they going to present a full plan to us, the roundabout village?
yes, it went before the planning board. And
Yeah, as a courtesy, I remember that.
And at this time, I made an appointment with one of them to go over the contract that I gave you guys. And so once I get that contract back, then we'll sit down, they'll come to the board just like, we'll talk about the plan.
Okay.
But I wanted to give them a chance to, they just haven't had the time, because now they're in full baseball mode right now. So they haven't had a chance to come by and think up the proposed contract.
So obviously that Little League field's not going to happen this year.
No. I mean, they could start, if we give them their approvals, they could start working on it after the Little League time.
Yes.
But once we have our mutual agreement.
Right,
Pretty
then
much
we,
in place.
then we can talk about, I showed you guys a plan last year, which is it's pretty close to what we showed you last year. Did you hear me, Manna? Manna, did you hear what I said?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I actually heard that.
Okay.
Well, if the previous administration voted and
No,
agreed to
yeah,
have
yeah.
it, the previous board, shouldn't we be able to move a little bit faster?
It's about, no, I don't think we can move any faster than we'll move.
I think we're moving in a prudent way in that, because of the uniqueness of the collaboration, we need to have an agreement in place, which spells out everybody's rights and responsibilities as it applies to the Little League field, but still, recognizes that the town owns the property and there'll be certain use of that property, that would benefit the town. And
I just assumed that when the previous board voted on it, all of those things came to light for having an agreeable vote
No, that was,
to move forward on it.
no, that vote was more of, I think,
Plan,
a reflection of the board's feelings that, based on all the years that we've dealt with that piece of property and couldn't come to mutual consensus, and then subsequent to that, there was some environmental issues that were raised, and the Army Corps of Engineers got involved, and then subsequent storms came back to back and, wiped out our Little League program here in town for all intents and purposes. And that's, I think, why the sentiment of the board at that time was, yeah,
And since, and after that vote, there was a suggestion that they get together with the previous supervisor, but that didn't happen, to work on a contract. And then right after I took office, it became apparent that we had the wetland issue to deal with, which that took us quite a long time to resolve. And then, so now, we're basically pulled the plan back out of the drawer and said, okay, what do we have to do? And I felt it was important to let the planning board review it, even though the planning board is required to review it. It was just to get their input and some feedback to help us make a smarter decision about things. But I have had a contract drafted, and I will be meeting with them actually later this week to go over that contract. And obviously, I'll come back to the board before we go forward. And at that time, it would be appropriate for them to come and show their plan to the town where we can, kind of iron out all the issues.
Sounds good.
Okay. And Dave Plant, who is the consultant to the planning board, made some substantial comments, so that's really helpful.
Those comments are actually compiled by the planning, by Dave from the planning board. So
Right.
those comments are the planning board members' comments, and they're in your packet.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to do the financial report. And the general fund, $1,140,873.88. In highway, $899,832.32. Capital highway, $31,302.05. In capital, $146,064.10. Rec sub, $24,571.73. Capital rec, $791.04. And light, $19,985.12.
You just signed it with me.
Okay, one second.
No problem.
You're the chief financial officer. You've got to handle it for us.
This is true. Do you want this one too? Okay. In your packet, there's a letter from Tanya Jurcic. She is no longer able to be on the Environmental Commission. She's also the clerk for the Environmental Commission. And I'm going to make a motion to accept her resignation.
I'll second it, thanks.
Roll vote, Councilman Gallagher,
Yes.
Councilman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hassett,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes,
Supervisor.
Yes. We've had a little issue where we've needed coverage, temporary, occasionally when Mike is out. And Tara has been filling in, and it's been quite a bit of a strain. So Rebecca, who is Deb's deputy, has agreed to fill in on the weekends if needed. And I'd like to make a motion to appoint her as a temporary fill-in housekeeper for no more than 10 hours a week as needed.
I'll second that.
Do we have an application?
She already works for the town.
Okay, got it.
Roll vote, Councilman Gallagher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hassett,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes. Paris here to introduce Christopher Wilson.
Good evening, Supervisor, members of the board, and gracious public. Before I get into the appointment, I just wanted to mention a concern that I have, and I wanted to see if the board can give me a hand with it. The crosswalks that we have on Main Street, years ago we had signs, and I looked into it, and they're about $200 a piece. I didn't budget that this year, but I thought maybe we should try and come up with a solution, because as you're well aware of, the businesses are getting a little more active down there, and I think that will help deter the crosswalk issue that we're having. So,
Were you talking about the signs that go in the middle of the
Yes.
road? Okay.
yes, and, we're prepared to put them in the road in the morning and take them out in the evening or whatever. I mean, I might ask a local business if we can store them next to their building or someplace that they wouldn't disappear, but I'll look into that if the board will, I don't know if the Business Association on Main Street can help with that or something, but it's about $400 for 2 signs.
Well, I'll look into where we can possibly come up with
Also,
that.
we're gonna check the highway and see if we still have this.
I've been looking around, I'll ask Carl, as we're well aware, Carl is a little under the weather, so I haven't wanted to call him on the phone.
Yes.
Yeah, just the rubber signs that if they get hit, they'll just knock over, but whatever, I just, I think we're gonna have a busier than ever season on Main Street, so. But without further, I'd like to introduce Christopher Wilson. Chris, why don't you just stand up for me? I'm gonna ask that the board appoint Chris. Chris did go through the academy with the Rosendale Police back, I believe, in 2010, correct?
2008.
2008, excuse me. I was here in 2010, that's how fast time goes by. And he went and worked up at the Village PD and Saugerties PD, and as we're well aware, the Saugerties PD joined with the town PD, and they could only take on so many employees, so Chris submitted an application, we've interviewed him, I've done a full background investigation on him, and I'm asking the board to take mine and the police commission's recommendation, as we've met with them also, and appoint him to a part-time position, and obviously he'd serve a probationary term.
I see you work for water sewer up there, so, Terry can slam you down into a manhole at the end of the day or.
Actually, when I leave tonight, I have to go back to work. We have a 12-foot deep hole in the middle of 9W that
Saw that.
we're working on.
I saw that too, yeah.
Well, if the chief recommends him, welcome aboard.
So,
So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Christopher Wilson as a part-time police officer at $17.45 per hour.
Do we have a second?
Roll vote, Councilman Gallagher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hassett.
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes.
Welcome back.
great, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And be safe.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. And I'll have him at the town hall next week to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many hours do you do at the other water place?
Oh, full-time. Full-time. It's my day job.
Board wants to be an overachiever like some other.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I just wanted to say one thing about if we're just mentioning the crosswalks. You have a wheelchair ramp on one side of the crosswalk and no ramp on the other side of the curb. And, for wheelchairs, it's ridiculous. You have a crosswalk, but
Which one, Which?
the one right in front of
Yeah.
the old bus depot, Amy's place.
Yep, yep.
And the one down by the post, both of them.
So
They're
wheelchair ramp on
on one side, so
On
if you're
town hall
crossing,
sideway.
if you're coming onto the crosswalk, you have to cut all the way over to Amy's driveway to be able to get up to that side of the curb.
on your side of the
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's,
Yeah, but you know,
That's
that's a
state
state
road.
road,
That's
and
state
they
road
did
again.
But the sidewalk,
The
I think what
sidewalks.
you're saying is the sidewalk is up, right? 'Cause
yeah,
it's
there's
the
no
old sidewalks
ramped
on that
curb,
side.
it's a regular curb, so if you're in a wheelchair, stroller, whatever it is,
That could probably be
you
done
go
better.
I
across,
was gonna say, you probably ask Billy, because that's curb cop, or curb cuts, and don't the DOT have to approve? Because you're cutting out part of the
Yeah,
curb.
I would say there's a good chance that we're gonna be doing some digging up of that area, and we could put it on the list that it needs to be addressed.
That's a good point, though.
because, you know, I work with some people that are in wheelchairs in this town, and I'm happy to say that
Not only-
Sarah's building is going to be wheelchair accessible within the next couple of months.
Not only the people in our town, but the people that, when the trestle opens,
Yeah.
it's gonna attract,
Yeah,
you know, that's gonna be handicap accessible.
absolutely.
And, you know, it's not unreasonable to think that we're gonna have a number of people with wheelchairs.
Is that the only, where's the other, I'm trying to picture
In front of
my
the-
mind.
One in the post
No, I know
office,
where yours is.
and the
Where
post
site
office.
Is there another one on the other end of Main Street?
Um,
No.
I think the post office, neither one are handicapped, are they?
I think one side is,
Is it still on the post
yeah,
office
it's
side?
on the movie theater side,
Yeah.
the ramp is, yeah,
They're all the newer sidewalks,
Right,
the other side
right.
is the older.
Yeah.
right.
All right,
So
well,
it's
we'll look into that, that's a good
great.
point.
That is a good point.
We're ready to sneak out with a little jackhammer in the middle of the night.
Yeah, just aside from permits and DOT permission and all that, it just seems like it should be an easy fix. You just
Yeah.
get a milling machine and grind it
Well,
down.
I'll talk to Carl about
Oh,
it.
that'd be great, thank you.
It should be the state's responsibility. It's a town highway, and if they don't have them, they're not in compliance with the Americans with Disability Act.
That's right.
So it should be on the state's dime instead of our
Well,
time.
technically, that's their crosswalk, not ours.
That's what I was
Correct.
thinking.
It's not Main Street, it's Route 213.
But, and the Ulster County Transportation Council might be able to address that too.
Yeah, that would be great,
But I'll follow up.
thank you,
Good catch, Fred.
thank you. I've been wanting to see that happen for a while.
So,
Great.
we have 3 site plans. And Perry, Chief Soul and I spoke just before the meeting. And it was brought to my attention that he has to re-review the site plan from the street festival because we changed it and he hasn't had a chance to go over it with the sheriff's department.
We have a meeting next Thursday.
Right, and then the Rosendale Rocks hasn't contacted them yet. And now the Chronograms program, it was on the list that they should have called them, but we didn't get an email like we expected. So we could do one of 2 things. We could do an approval pending, with the conditional approval that they give Perry, that Perry gives these final.
Based on
approval.
that, I'd like to just move forward and do each approval separately. And maybe we can address our concerns with there. Because to be honest with you, with regard to the Rosendale Street Festival, to give an approval tonight tentative to whatever the chief may be concerned with, I'm sure that's mitigated by him and Billy
Yeah,
just
I'm
talking.
not concerned
I mean,
about
this
that at all.
is a solid site plan and always has been. Except when
You
you've
have
got
some
states
changes
in.
from last week, though.
Yeah,
Sorry?
go ahead, Billy.
I do have some changes from last week.
From the one you submitted to
Yes.
us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
On page 8, section 16.
Is this the one that we have, you're changing
Private
the one we have
security.
now?
Yes, I sent them in maybe yesterday? Okay. 'Cause
Okay, but what I'm saying is, since you're still having that meeting with the
Oh,
police department.
This is still
we
considered
need
draft.
to- This is the updated one.
This is draft number 2, it's not a final.
Right, and the final,
Will be after I meet with Chief Perry.
so I'm gonna recommend that we do this, since you still have time.
I'm in no hurry.
All right,
Okay.
so
We
I'm
got
gonna recommend,
Plenty of time, even for...
And Billy, I think you proposed,
let's-
what you just pointed out in 16, page 8.
Yes.
That's due diligence right there.
About the
Absolutely.
security.
Yep.
And the other one was under 17 beer sales. We were made aware that several new beer, wine, and liquor locations on private property may be operating during the street festival. We have no say in what they do, but Perry likes to be advised of it. 1850s House and Green Garden Cafe are we saying doing either beer, wine, or some type of a service area. Bell Tower thought about doing beer and food, but as of last night, I think they've scaled back the alcohol idea, just doing food. But I do put them in there just so that, you know, Perry's aware of it. And
That'd almost be redundant, having it there and then mountain stage.
well, I mean, here's the point is, you know, both of them have, I mean, we've got a ton of beer. And for years, we were trying to get wine gardens. And both 1850s and Green Garden are amenable to having a wine garden. So I think their emphasis will mainly on wine consumers, but they will also serve beer for those people like me.
So I'm going to make a recommendation that we hold off on this, and Billy, if you could just update us.
Correct. Next
With-
Thursday, I got a meeting with Perry, so probably,
And tell Perry that we need something in writing also
Yeah.
that will.
I thought that was Scotch.
You guys with that?
When is the street festival?
July 20th and 21st.
July 20th?
Yeah. Make your reservation, get it down now.
Now, Rosendale Rocks, when is that? That's,
It's
this-
June 22nd.
So because we'll have a meeting before their event also, so I'm gonna also,
Mr.
because,
Parenti was before this board last week.
Right.
And made his presentation, and I believe he was specifically asked if he had contacted the police, and said that he had.
and that's what I said to Perry, and he, as, you know, he said he wanted to check on that. So I would say, you know, we can finalize this approval first week in June also. And then, what happened with the Chronogram is they're having a kids and family day here at the rec center. And after Tara's interview with them, it became apparent that this could turn into a much bigger event than what they were originally saying. And we thought it was smart for them to have a site plan. They're taking up the whole park, which does not sound like.
Almost the whole park.
Except for the.
We
except
staked
for-
our claim.
Yes. But, you know, it seems to me that they're anticipating more than 200 people. And they have contacted Star to be able to use this parking overflow at Jurcic's property across from Sitco. And they did send over a certificate of insurance for both the town and Sitco, Star. But they have also not contacted Perry, which was one of the conditions. But their event is June 2nd. So I would say we should do a motion for conditional, June 2nd, when's our meeting?
June 2nd
Second
is
is Sunday, so-
Sunday. You're probably meeting
Yeah,
around
so-
the 5th.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a recommendation that we do a conditional site plan approval pending their agreement with Perry Soul that everything is, because I had told Tara that they need to make an agreement for a crossing guard and with the police department. Yes, Billy?
Some other conditions you may want to consider. The street festival and the pickle festival both require the food vendors. They're going to have food trucks here. Being that they're on town property, that the pickle festival and street festival both require that the food vendors add the town as an additional insured on their insurance policies in case someone gets ill or chokes on food, that the town's liability comes after theirs.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we accept their site plan on the condition that their food vendors have an additional insured for the town,
An issue a certificate to the town.
additional insured, certificate of additional insured,
Yes.
and that Chief Soul signs off on this.
I'll second.
Before we do a roll vote, I really do think the Chronogram has a very wide reach, and I think this could be a very
Yeah.
big, you know, you want us to be the festival town. This is really another festival.
I agree too, and what they did was they came, and that's why this ended up being on the board at the last minute,
Yeah.
because they said they were only gonna have a few hundred people, and I said, I don't trust that this is gonna be a couple hundred people, I think it's gonna be 1,000 people.
Considering when the lady walked out the door after talking to Tara and looking over the place, well, just like the pickle festival, we're gonna have that.
Yeah, as soon as that rules came out of their mouth, we were like, wait a minute, that's not an event that doesn't need a site plan, so.
And I think
it looks like,
mainly targeted to children's events.
Yeah, it's to promote their family section that they're doing in the.
And Jeannie, the only question I have, and I'm sure it's not an issue, is on their site plan, it shows the center, in the back of the youth center, on the hill going down into Rutland Park, it says supervision needed.
They're looking, they had some of the paperwork we had said they were getting a group of volunteers together, and they're gonna have volunteers that will will be doing some of that.
But to keep the kids off the road?
I guess just to keep people off the road, probably get kids' events going on there. And it might have been something that Tara identified with them. This whole layout was Tara and them working together, so. Is there any other concerns that you guys have?
they have parking overflow, but, you know, that this is a farmer's market day.
Yes.
And there's additional food trucks, so they really do need that Aerostar. And
they've gotten permission for Aerostar, like.
Okay, great. But I just want to suggest that if they're going to do this annually, when I look at the difference between this and this and this.
I think going forward, according to our mass gathering law, it has to be approved 45 days before the event.
We can turn it down, but I'm just telling you what happened.
I'm not saying turn it down.
I'm just telling you what happened. It was, you're right.
I think the poster board site plan is not going to.
Yeah, but that was not really truly a mass gathering. It was just something as more of a courtesy. But this was definitely something that, at the last minute, we identified as a possible mass gathering, and that's why it kind of got thrown together. We were emailing them back and forth saying, no, you need this, and they were like trying to gather all this stuff on, I think it was 2 days' notice, so that's why we're at this point. Yes,
I don't think the First Street Festival had a site plan either.
No, but what we want is this.
Yes, no, I understand, but this is
It's
their
morphed
first
into
one.
this. You know, in the past 10 years, it's morphed into this, and I think
If
that's.
you want to forward it to them, I mean, hopefully, hopefully, they'll work through the pains for this year and start in July planning for next year, and they will probably produce a document similar to that for the next one.
And the only other thing that's not attached here was they did send over their certificates of insurance, and they did send over their application with the board, which I don't have attached with the rec commission. So, you know, it was definitely something thrown together at the last minute, and me emailing Tara back saying, you know, you have to ask them for this, you have to ask them for that, you know, and knowing that they didn't have any time to put this together. I mean, this is since I came back, and so we're talking since Monday, right, Jill? Pretty
Yeah, I
much.
think you got this about 3:30 this afternoon.
Yeah. So.
I would just recommend that, and I know Tara's really busy, but if she has some time, maybe to look at this document and make an outline for future, because, you know, there is just such a gap, an information gap, and
Well, the
it
thing
could
is,
be
you
that
can
things are
take, you can
overlooked.
take this and actually make a template that's
Yep.
available.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have an event. They're given the template, and this is what we're requiring you to
Right.
provide them.
And that's a good suggestion. In fact, recently I had a talk with Tara, and I don't know if she's brought it up to the rec commission yet, that I'd like to see their application revamped, and one of the sections to be really identifying whether something is a public event as opposed to a family event or a person that's just having a party or a group get together, and really have a different set of criteria for public events, which this would be.
I've seen some families that require the police more than public.
But it changes how everything happens here, including the cleanup and, you know, what the
I think
requirements
the
are.
benchmark is, you know, the fee that's charged.
Fees gotta get
Charge a
changed.
fee, then it's a public event. But, you know, I know we gotta move on with the agenda, but just to that point, you know, based on our mass gathering law, Chronogram really didn't have to, you know, prepare a site plan. They did it, you know, out of a recommendation.
Well, they're saying they were gonna have 200 people, but we didn't
Well,
really.
that's just it.
I think
200
on here, they've got 250 to 300
250 to
people.
300, it could be 500, it could be 700, it could be 800, it could be 999, and there's still not that solid requirement
That's right.
to require a mass gathering permit. And to my point is that maybe it's time, based on Rosendale being the festival town, and Rosendale coming of its own in the very near future with regard to the trestle opening up and more utilization of our bike trails and more people in town, it might be time for us to revisit that mass gathering permit law and make it more along the lines of 500 or something that we think is more manageable. Not to say that there couldn't be anything over that, but when we have these series of events over the course of, especially the summer, the farmer's market being a constant, and that's a generator of traffic, which is a good thing. For another major event to happen here, if it's 200 people or 300 people or 500 people, that creates an issue to the point that we're talking about it tonight. So maybe we should, as we move forward, consider revisiting that law and amending that number to something that's going to require, board involvement or at least town knowledge of an event prior to, so that we can prepare for it. Because let's face it, we're a small town that's getting busier and busier and busier, and we don't have a lot of discretionary parking spaces and things like that. So given that, we don't want to turn people away, but we want to be smart about it. So
Yep, I agree.
I'll just leave it at that.
I
Maybe
agree.
we should revisit our mass gathering permit.
I agree, and, I just didn't want to have to turn them away. I
No,
felt
not at
that, this would be a good event, but, it was hard to get them to put everything together at the last minute when we were like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like a 200 people kind of event
Well,
to me. so.
Well, Tara didn't even know what the mass gathering was, and I just pulled the law, I gave her that, and she forwarded that to them, so they could look over the law to see what they had to do. That's what they came up with this.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
So-
last week when Mr. Parenti was here talking about Rosendale Rocks, we asked him about how many people, and he said between 200 and 300 or
150, I think I said at that point.
150 to 200. We asked him where the parking facilities were, and I think he showed there was parking for the performers.
And the rest of it's on public parking.
Well, he said, along the street, and the idea is to generate traffic for the businesses, but, I'm just wondering if it's a busy Saturday night for the businesses and all of a sudden a large portion of those spots are taken up for this event, that's to my point.
Yep.
That's to my point. We
Well,
might
let's,
need to relook.
I think you're right, I think we need to, reevaluate this, but, are you okay if we do an approval, conditional approval on this? That, based on my motion? Is everybody okay with that? Is there anything else you want to add to that conditional approval?
No,
So
we're
did anybody second that or not?
Yeah, that was seconded by Ken.
So,
We're just waiting for the man asked to talk, that's all.
okay.
You ready? Roll vote, Councilman Gallagher?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Councilman Hassett?
Yes.
Councilman Ryan?
Yes.
Supervisor?
Yes. We have Mr. Joseph Mihm here with Grenier and Larios to, what's that? And he's here to go over the MS4 report. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Supervisor, Town Board, Public. The Town of Rosendale has a permit from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation that regulates all of the stormwater discharges from the various pipes throughout the town. It's called an MS4 permit. They put one of those acronyms on it to make it hard to remember. It stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. One of the things under that permit is to prepare an annual report, and a copy of that was prepared earlier last month. There was a notice that it was available, posted on the town's stormwater webpage, and I believe each of the town board members got a copy of it in your packet, so hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. What this is we have to go through each of the requirements of that permit, and there's 6 areas that they look at, 6 components, and you assess how you performed in the past year, and then you set your goals for the next year. So that's all outlined in this draft report. In general, the town is in compliance with its stormwater management plan. There was an audit that was done by DEC on November 15th of 2012, And the findings of that report said that generally, they found the town to be in compliance with the MS4 permit. There were 3 areas they recommended some improvements. One of those was something called dry weather outfall inspections. There's a total of, I believe it's 57 outfalls that are mapped throughout the town. And by the end of this year, they have to all be inspected. So over the last 3 years, you were supposed to be doing a certain number of those. There weren't very many of those done last year. I think there were only 8 done. So they were behind schedule on those, and we're going to get caught up this year on that. There was some need for improving the record keeping, and Tom Fiore, who's your stormwater officer, we sat down and we're putting together there's 6 components, so he's got 6 folders, so as something gets done in that particular area, he keeps a record of it right there at his office, so record keeping will be in order. And then the final thing was they asked for some quarterly inspections up at the highway garage, and we will be getting those started this year. I won't walk through every page of this and bore you tonight. I guess I'll open it up to see if anybody has any questions. I don't have any glaring compliance issues to bring to your attention. Tom's doing a good job, and the town's doing a good job complying with their permit. It's just one of those things that you have to stay on top of. You don't just pull it out once a year, do your annual report. The water that flows into our streams and down the creek out here is part of what makes Rosendale Rosendale, and we want to keep it clean and usable. Any questions?
Just a comment to thank the Environmental Commission also for meeting one of the minimum standards with regard to education, and I saw you acknowledge that.
They certainly do a good portion of the training and notification and public outreach the Environmental Commission does, yes.
And you have something planned coming up too, right?
We have a
Creek Week is going to
film, we have Creek Week, and we have the Earth Fest, which is going to have a stream walk. So we have three MS4 outreach events planned.
And were you going to do some kind of training also, Joe, this year
Yes,
coming up?
I'm getting together with Tom to schedule that, and the Environmental Commission will work those 2 together.
I think last year was about pollution runoff.
Yeah, we were talking about doing one on erosion and sedimentation control, a workshop that would benefit town employees as well as people that do that for a living.
And the other thing we did was last year, we reached out to other municipalities to see if there's, last year we had several people from Marbletown, so, we kind of did a little bit of shared service there, so they have to do MS4 also.
Okay.
Then if it would be valuable, I don't know how much in advance you're able to get the report done, but I had sent, at Jane's request, I sent a list of our activities over to Tom. But if you would like the Environmental Commission to look at a draft of it, when it meets before its town board meeting, just in case we think of something additional.
I didn't catch everything you said, I'm sorry.
If a draft of the report is done in time for the Environmental Commission meeting preceding the town board hearing, we can review it, and if there's any additional...
I don't think that was the case, right, Joe?
We will certainly do that next
year. Yeah, no, that's fine. I think it could be helpful.
We had, it was kind of like, we lost Barbara and Joe came in and thank God.
Yeah,
Pulled it all together for us.
Suggested for next year.
And that's a good idea.
Yeah.
This annual report does need to be filed with DEC by June 1st. So hence we're here tonight to do the public presentation and answer any questions.
Anybody else have a question on the board?
Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, just come up here a minute. You need these, right?
I will take, yes.
Yeah, there's something else.
Are you going to do a resolution?
Do you want that also?
No, I don't need that,
All
just
right,
this.
what about, there's one other thing I've got marked that needs to be signed in here. This, is that? Okay,
That's it.
so that's
I
just
will
for my
insert
own.
that in here, yeah.
Oh, okay,
And then I'll send you the final electronic copy.
okay. So, we can do the resolution now, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So, this is resolution 5/2013. This is one, you didn't do any last week, right? Resolution to accept the 2012-2013 Stormwater Management Program Annual Report, whereas the town of Rosendale is regulated municipality under New York State Pollution Discharge and Elimination System Speedies General Permit for stormwater discharges from municipal separate storm sewers, MS4, GP 010-002, with an assigned permit number NYR 20A418, and whereas the New York State DEC conducted an audit of the town's MS4 program on November 15, 2012, and provided the results of this audit in a letter dated November 21st, 2012. And whereas the MS4 permit requires the town is prepared and submit an annual report to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation by June 1st. And whereas the town stormwater officer, Mr. Tom Fiore, with the assistance of the town consultant Bernier Larios, PC, has prepared a draft MS4 annual report for the period of March 10, 2012 through March 9, 2013, and provided such draft MS4 annual report for public review on March 29, 2013. Therefore, be it resolved that the draft MS4 annual report is accepted by the town board, and the town board authorizes the town supervisor to sign and submit such report to New York State DEC.
I'll second.
Roll vote, Councilman Gallagher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hassett,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan.
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes. Okay, thanks,
All right,
Jim.
I will take care of it.
Thanks
Should
again.
I send to DEC?
Okay, thank you so much. And Etched Stone has sent us a revised agreement. Really, the only change, I don't know if you guys reviewed it the other day, is that the characters on the stone, on the bricks, will be 16 characters you're allowed instead of 13. So I'd like to do that resolution 5/2013-2. Engraved brick paver supply agreement with Etched Stone, whereas the town of Rosendale entered into a contract with Etched Stone, P.O. Box 1074, Port Ewing, New York 12466 on September 12, 2012. Resolution 9/2012 and 5 to help raise funds for the pool. And whereas Etched Stone has presented the town of Rosendale with an updated contract changing where each line containing 13 characters to each line containing 16 characters. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Rosendale authorize the supervisor to sign said agreement on behalf of the town of Rosendale.
Second.
Roll vote, Councilman Gallagher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hassett,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan.
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes. Huh? Tara has another thing. We're going to go into an executive session to discuss the appointment of a particular person and to discuss the information related to a current investigation of a criminal offense.
Before we do, I just, a real quick update, just to be sure everyone is aware that of two things relevant to the potential acquisition of Central Hudson by Fortis. We had a very favorable recommended decision on Friday, which is in the packet, and in essence, the administrative law judges recommended to the 5 commissioners who will decide this possibly as soon as the June meeting, but there are several other steps. But basically, they said that the service area would be better served if it stayed Central Hudson rather than to be acquired, and that the detriments outweighed the benefits. And, that's really unprecedented. It's so rare for people in a community to care about a project enough to express their opinion in the organized way that we have. The other good news is that 2 other municipalities have, well, I think 2. I know for sure New Paltz, town of New Paltz, has agreed to be part of a municipal consortium and to help pay for some of to defray some of the legal costs. And I believe the village is voting on it tonight, the village of New Paltz. So.
And just so the rest, I'm sure you guys all noticed that there was, that write-up is in here.
Also, in today's Record Journal, I think it said they don't think there's going to be any stopping or hampering of the sale of Central Hudson to Fortis. The thing that I don't understand, though, has anybody, Councilman Green, reached up the chain of command to higher up? Because I've always understood it to help the economy and straighten things out is to bring, like I said last week, manufacturing and business back to our country. And here, once again, we're selling out. So has anybody reached up instead of down for support on this?
Yeah.
What do you mean, like Cuomo? Like the governor?
He's talking about any higher up.
Well, sure, absolutely.
Well,
Officials.
Senator
yeah.
Senator Schumer was just here last week to announce his opposition to the agreement and he called for an extension of the public time.
I remember the president saying.
Cahill also spoke.
Cahill, there have been a number of state senators and assemblymen that have gone on the record and submitted comments in opposition to the agreement. But it was a big deal, and County Executive Mike Mihm stood with Senator Schumer in support of Senator Schumer's recommendations. But it was a big deal to get Senator Schumer because he's been very influential in other decisions before the Public Service Commission, and he was.
It's just funny because I see a lot of articles written in the papers, whether it be the Freeman and the Record Journal, but I don't see any stand-up figure high up that is in the corner with this whole process.
Well, there's been a lot of press, all of those officials have been in the press. They were press conferences with Schumer and with Mike Mihm. They were all widely reported. Cahill, Etched, various statesmen have been in the news about it.
There were also in Dutchess County, there was a press conference, and a lot of elected officials, bipartisan, came out prior to the 3rd hearing. And also we met with the governor's, the Secretary of Energy. So, and ultimately, there will probably be some discussions directly with Central Hudson. I don't know how that will play itself out, but right now it's in the hands of the Public Service Commission. And, my biggest concern is that we not, as you said, export our dollars.
So you feel that this will be able to be stopped?
I think there's a very good chance. I think it's unprecedented.
It was encouraging that
It was
they.
encouraging. It's
Right.
not, it's still up to the 5 commissioners.
Right.
One of those commissioners came down and sat through the last hearing. Gene was there, and he really paid attention. And that was not just the judge, that was actually a commissioner.
Right.
The chairman of the commission is a man named Gary Brown, and I've heard him speak on several occasions, and he really has a vision of us transitioning to a green energy economy, and he was outspoken over at Marist College on that and so forth. So
And one of the
it's
other.
a long shot, but at this late hour in the process, but given the tone of the recommended decision and the strong opposition by labor and by elected officials, we were over in Poughkeepsie, city of Poughkeepsie on, was that just last night? No, 2 nights ago. And they were very interested. I don't know where it will go, but it's going through their process. It's going through Beacon. Newburgh approved it, and everyone who's approved it has pretty much approved it unanimously across the board. So
I read the paper every day, and it's funny because I don't get.
the media, well,
You know, I think it might be beneficial to pool the information, the comments that have been made by elected officials, and maybe it'll be a stronger case for when you're trying to get more people recruited to understand
That's a
how many
really
elected
good idea.
officials, and if someone like Bob is not seeing everything and he reads the paper every day, it might be beneficial to say, this is this person's, this is this elected official's comments, this is this one's, and we can pool that information and have it for any other approach.
If you read the Record Journal today, it's either today or yesterday, I can get the feeling, I got the feeling it's pretty much, like I said, with the same with the closing of schools, it's pretty much a done deal.
The other thing,
that was a result, I can just say, it was a result of a press release from Central Hudson, and I hate to burden you to read this, but if you read through it, one of the things the ALJ, the administrative law judges, say is that Fortis has been unresponsive.
that's exactly what I was going to talk about.
Oh, you were going to say, go.
Yeah, no, it's
go
okay.
ahead.
That was exactly what I was thinking of, though. They had not responded. The judges were saying why, if people are bringing all these points up and they're just sitting back and not responding, how are they going to be when they become our company that takes care of our electric? Are they going to be non-responsive during that, when it becomes their job to take care of us? And so that was an eye-opener, I think, for them to say. And I don't know if that's what you were getting at. That was what I was thinking.
I think it's almost arrogant of them, given this recommended decision, to just say, this is a done deal, don't worry about it.
And they're running an ad campaign on
You're
local
right.
television.
You're absolutely right, but that's why I'm trying to figure out, what elected official, be it congressman, senator, is going nose to nose to really get into the media to make this point clear? I haven't heard of anybody unless the paper's on portraying
It's coming in dribs and drabs. So now I think probably now that you've had enough people make a statement, it might be important to pull them together.
That's a
and
very
say,
good idea.
have a document that you can hit them.
And
And they're
let's
just
send
starting
that
to really,
around.
I put in your packet their response, which is the first time I've gotten anything from Central Hudson on, now they're starting to say why they think everything is good, So I just think it's interesting that it's really only just starting, that Fortis is starting to make comments, in defense, quote unquote, of their position, where up until now, they've just acted like we were just, a nuisance, so.
And have they read through this and said, in a more humble manner, we hear that the community is unsatisfied, and there's a huge amount of opposition, and started to indicate a responsiveness to
Right.
that. I think the commissioners would take that more favorably, instead of reading through this, including those comments that I just, paraphrased, and then just saying it's a done deal. I think that does not serve them well.
Is the website that, the website that has the comments, are the political comments on that too?
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so there's also a
they're
link to-
actually cited in here. Every single comment is, I think it's on
Yeah.
page 6, includes Senator Etched, Terry Gibson, members Cahill, D.D. Barrett, James, and so forth. So there's, and they even quote, former Congressman Hinchy, they quote.
I quote from the
Go ahead.
Environmental Commission in their recommended decision.
But what's gonna happen, what will happen if it doesn't happen? Central Hudson will stay Central Hudson?
Well, they may look for a different buyer, for a different person in the
different company.
Well,
It's a
as
new ballgame.
proposed, Central Hudson's going to stay the name, but it'll be owned by Fortis and run by their board of directors, right?
If it went through.
If it went through, yeah.
And if it doesn't, it'll stay Central Hudson, and they'll either look for another buyer, but that would be a really good opportunity for the municipalities to sit down with Central Hudson and address the concerns that have been raised. But at least it won't be Fortis with their history.